Hi, it's Chris. In this video, we're going to show you how to remove and install the inlet valve on a Whirlpool washer. Replacing the valve is actually fairly easy on this style of machine. Only requires a few basic hand tools. Keep in mind if your machine needs to be repaired, it's usually simple enough to do it yourself. Visit PartSelect.com, enter your model number, and quickly find and order the part you need. Some of the reasons you might be looking at having to replace that inlet valve is either you're getting no cold water coming into your machine, no hot water, or maybe it's coming in but it's just in a small enough amount that the machine never really fills up to where it should be. So the first thing we're going to want to do in order to remove and replace that inlet valve is one, we want to turn off the power, and the easiest thing to do is just unplug it from the wall. We're also going to want to turn off the water supply valves so there's no water flowing through the hoses, because we're going to need to take those hoses off the valve itself. So all we need now is just a putty knife, because we're going to release the two latches that are on the console. There's one on the left side and one on the right. So I'm going to start on the right side one, and I'm just going to insert my putty knife and push inward. And you'll feel a little bit of pushback from the spring clip. So you're just going to push that in and lift up, and it releases it. So now that we have the console latches released and the console's free, I'm just going to take a towel or a cloth just to throw over this, because I'm going to tip that console forward, and I don't want to have the console get scratched or the top of the machine. So now I just lift the console and tip it forward, and now we can find our inlet valve assembly. So this is really easy to do. So this valve comes with its own wiring harness, which is great. So all you need to do to unplug it from the control board is simply press this tab right here. Press it in, and then you can just wiggle that connector right out of the control board. So now we want to remove the screws that are holding the valve in place, and these are actually a torque screw. They're T10 Torx. We'll take one out and the other. So now that we have our electrical harness disconnected, it's just a matter of applying a little pressure to the back. Just tip it backward, take our valve, lift it upwards, and then pull it up out of the opening. So that's how easy it is to remove the valve from your Whirlpool washer. So now we're just going to take the new valve and insert it back into place in the washer. Bring it straight down, and then just rotate the valve. Let your valves slip out through the back, and now we just need to put our screws in that hold it. Now that the valve's secured, we can take our electrical harness and connect it to the control board. And it'll only go in the way it's supposed to. You can't mix it up or turn it around. There's no worries there. It just goes in the one way. Just push it down till you feel and hear the little catch take hold of the lock there, so it won't pull out. And there, your electrical's hooked up. So now we're just going to lift our console up, bring it into place, and we're just going to slip the back down onto the back panel. Move our cloth, and now we just need to get the hooks of the console to go into place, and then tip forward, and then push down, and that spring clip will lock into place, and you'll hear it make a little snap as it does. And we just do the same on the other side. Just get that back hook into place, and then bring the front of the console down until you hear that catch snap into place. Perfect. So now what we want to do is hook up our water supply lines. So I'm just going to take my hot water first. And although this is not the hardest part of the job, it's probably one of the most important pieces. And that's to make sure you get the right hose on the right valve. So this is our hot water. It goes up to our hot water tap. So we're just going to put it into place. So now we want to install our cold water hose. The reason it's important to make sure you've got the right temperature hose on the right part of the valve is these machines now have a sensor in them that's measuring the temperature of the water going into the machine. So depending on the cycle you select, it's going to be looking for that temperature sensor to tell it if the water's too hot or too cold. And if you've got them reversed, it messes up the settings, it messes up the sensor, and you'll wind up with the machine either just shutting down completely or starting to throw error codes. Take the pliers, snug up those connections, Now this is the ideal time to turn on your valves, get your water pressure back on them, and check and make sure you don't have any leaks. So now the last thing we need to do is just to plug in the machine, move it back into its proper position, and there you go. So that's how easy it is to install an inlet valve in your Whirlpool washer.